But let's start with the update on China. So there probably you heard of there is a big flood going on right now. So here's some footage. This is from Beijing, and my parents are living in Beijing. They're not really affected much, but parts. This is, I guess, outskirt of Beijing, some parking place, and yeah, it's pretty bad. And so far in Beijing, there 2 people are killed. But there are other parts of China also, some provinces. What is interesting there is I just read this morning that they are in another city, like 5 people were killed, but the people, 4 of them were rescue workers. They are all party members.
Wow.
So, yeah. So this is something probably people don't know. In China, whenever there is a natural disaster, it is the party members are required to be in the front line. Imagine that. Imagine if we have a natural disaster here somewhere and say, hey, Democrats, you need to be in the front line, helping, supporting, saving. Imagine that, or Republicans, but that's the requirement for the party members. So normally the main force of rescue workers, they are the military. They will normally, put in the military. So the soldiers will come. And even among the soldiers, if you're the party members, you will be in the front line. And
wow.
of course, the leaders, if you're the party leaders, you will bring the other party members, you will be the front line, the very front. So that's how it works in China. I don't think many people know that.
Yeah. Well, that shows that the communists are the most upstanding citizens, right? They're the most loyal, the people that are holding the country together, the people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The West normally say, okay, you're a party member, then you are in this, you can climb high, okay, because you're a party member. Yes, you are, but you're also required to stand up when it's time to do something, right? You also sometimes can risk your lives. Yes.
So. Yeah. No, the party is portrayed as like this elite group that rules over the country or something. They don't show the party doing work, improving people's lives. They don't show the party being a group that is essential to the country.
Yeah. So I want to share that. And then there's also earthquake over the weekend. So here's the earthquake in Shandong, and it's a 5.5 magnitude. This is the Shandong earthquake. You can see here some footage there. But here's something interesting. Let me show you that I didn't know this, that apparently there is an earthquake forecaster, and there is a countdown. You see, this is number 4. And 3, 2, 1. And right after that, the earthquake starts. I didn't know you can do that. That apparently this is something that, at least this time, this is the earthquake. Again, it's also affected Beijing. My parents didn't know a thing. They didn't know there is an earthquake until I talked to them. But I saw many people talk about that alarm system. So on your phone, you can be alarmed that there is an earthquake going on. They would tell you, they would do a countdown like that, that show. Yeah, I didn't know that you can do that. So it's just, they started countdown like, I guess, an hour or maybe 2 hours before, telling you in 2 hours there is an earthquake will come to your area or something. And I don't know whether it's true or not, but many people shared that how their phone is counting down. But people are saying it's the Huawei phone that works, not the Apple phone.
Okay.
So I don't know. Talking about Huawei phone, Huawei has been banned buying chips, and it did hurt Huawei for a while, but now Huawei phone is back because they can manufacture their own chips now, the low end chips, 28 nanometers chips that for their phone. So the Huawei phone is now back. It seems to me like it's recovering. Huawei is recovering, and on this way back. And China, this seems like it has some breakthroughs in the chip manufacturing, including chip machines. I think I'm going to do a program on that in my Chinese channel, maybe even my English channel. We'll see, because this is something I need to figure out what exactly is going on. A lot of things happen in the chip industry. It is a very important industry. But so far, what we can say from what I'm reading, it seems to me like the biggest casualty is not necessarily China. It's probably South Korea. South Korea, Samsung, who is a big chip exporter to China, they lost, I think in the first half year, lost like 95% of their business. That's remarkable. And South Korea in general, their GDP, they used to be ranked number 8 in the country, in the world, and now they're out of they are number 13. So they're out of top 10. So seems to me the trade war, the chips war, seems the first casualty is not China, it is South Korea. But you probably heard Kissinger said that it is dangerous to be the US enemy, but it's fatal to be the US ally, right?
Sure.
So that seems to what's happening. So that's
Wow.
so that's just the one thing I learned. Okay, you can actually get alarm like that for earthquake. I think that's remarkable.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't know that. I'm learning about China, myself. Okay. The next thing is that, in the early July, China imposed the export restrictions on gallium and the germanium, right? And so the US, over the weekend, maybe last week, are talking about having a deal with Mongolia to import those rare earths. Okay, trying to bypass. So that's a big topic in China. You can see one of the articles here. This is in Chinese, but basically this article is saying is that US and Mongolia are trying to bypass China. But I want to show you why it won't work. So if you look at the map, right, Mongolia literally is between China and Russia. So this is Russia, this is China. Okay. And so literally this is where Mongolia is. So if you want to have, they signed some kind of open skies. US and Mongolia signed an open skies agreement. Okay. Well, but you cannot bypass Russia and China if you want to have open skies, isn't it? So to me, that doesn't really make much of sense, but apparently that's what US is trying to counter. And also in Mongolia right now, all those rare earth manufacturers, they are more or less controlled by China. China has the technology. So it's not just the natural resource itself, but you need to know how to process them, right?
Yeah.
How to turn them into, and China has the technology. China also already have lots of the control over the manufacturer itself. So I don't know how it's going to work with if Mongolia want to be independent away from China, etc. I don't know how it works, but that seems like a big thing now, and it's something got lots of attraction in the Chinese media. So that's another thing that can be interesting to watch to see how they continue. The next thing is the BRICS. The BRICS summit is going to happen at the end of this month, the 22nd, 24th of August. And originally Modi wasn't going to participate in person. Originally, it seems like he was at least the Western media saying that he will only be there virtually. But then he changed his mind. Also, I believe last Friday, it came to say that he will come in person. Now you can see the Western media do not want to see BRICS success. So they actually would prefer Modi doesn't appear in person. Sure. But then in the end, Modi decided to come anyway. The Chinese media is saying that he was convinced by the former Brazilian president. What is her name?
Bolsonaro?
No, not her. The woman.
Oh, Dilma Rousseff.
Dilma Rousseff, right? Yes, yeah, Dilma Rousseff. It's her. She is now the BRICS bank governor.
Okay.
So according to the Chinese media, I didn't see it in the West media. According to the Chinese media, she's the one convinced him to come in person. Well, at least the two of them talked. That seems true. Now, how much weight her speech to him, we don't know. I personally think if one of the things that many people speculated when Modi said that he's not coming is they are saying that because Putin cannot come because ICC arrest warrant, and so South Africa is part of the ICC member. So ICC, South Africa is kind of in a difficult position. I don't know whether that's the reason, but at least there's some security reasons for Putin to come in person. So that's why Putin didn't come. And because Putin doesn't come, so Modi feel like he didn't feel comfortable. He would like somebody to back him,
Yeah.
But the reality is this: if Modi doesn't come in person, the whole BRICS summit will be run by China, right? So if India wants to insert more influence, it's better he come in person, I think. Otherwise, it's going to be China run the whole thing. If Russian is not there and he's not there, I think China basically to run the whole thing. So he probably figured that out. And maybe Delman Rousseff have some influence on him as well. So in the end, he decided to come in person. I'm sure the West media doesn't really like that. They want to see BRICS, being weakened. I think that's what they want.
Okay.
And more information will come, of course, once they have the meeting. A lot of speculations whether they're going to introduce a BRIC currency, which will be a big thing. And also new members. That's another, Saudi, Iran. I mean, there are many people, many countries want to join. And there might be some disagreement to some people saying India, Modi want to slow down, and China saying see no problem. Now, one rumor they're saying Brazil and India both want to slow it down. Brazil already came out and said, we never said that. Okay, Brazil said, we never said that we want to slow down. We want to see countries, if they're qualified, that they should join. Okay, so that's just the rumor, that's just false. Basically, the Western media just made it up, claim that Brazil and India, but India hasn't came out and said anything. Brazil openly denied. So that's about BRICS. And one more thing is about the Jeddah, the Saudi hosted the peace summit, which is, that's another thing that got some attention in China. This is the again, in the beginning, it was speculated that China will not be there, but now this is the foreign minister did say that the Li Hui will come. Okay, and he did come. There are lots of comments in the Chinese media about this meeting. Basically, it seems like it achieved nothing, right? And here's the picture that has been circulating. You see, this is the Saudis, the host country. And then to the left is Sullivan, the US delegates, and to the right is the Chinese delegate. Now, some people are saying this is a perfect balance. The Saudi just trying to be in the middle, and then let the two big countries balance each other out or something. And then the other people commenting saying on the right, the people on the right of the host, it seems more important than the left. I don't know whether that's true, but there's lots of speculations about that based on that picture. I don't see this picture has been shown much in the West. But in general, I would say this, that I think the fact that it hasn't achieved anything is probably can see as a victory for Russia, because Russian didn't come and they achieved nothing. I mean, it's obvious, right? If you want to have a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, you certainly need to bring the two sides if you really want to achieve anything. I think in the beginning, probably what the West and the US want, some kind of a declaration and to more or less criticizing Russia a little bit. I think that's what they want. The fact that they don't produce any of these things probably can be seen as a victory for Russia by itself. The fact it doesn't achieve anything. In China, people call this meeting, the social media call this meeting like a snowflake in the desert. It's beautiful, but quickly disappears,
I see.
So that's how China described, the Chinese social media described this meeting.
Sure.
Yeah. So these are the things that I want to briefly updating people, what is trending, what is discussions in the Chinese media. Sure. Any questions, comments you want to add?
Not really. I mean, the theme of economic warfare from the United States, the effort of the United States to defeat China and suppress China on the international computer chip markets, and when it comes to rare earth elements, that's ongoing and not surprising. And it's the kind of thing that U.S. media doesn't talk about because it's complicated, because they really try to keep the U.S. public from really thinking about economics. But it's very important. And I'm glad to see the Chinese public is being engaged on this issue, because it's very vital. When you have a country that is focused on development and raising up living standards, these kind of issues are important. U.S. media works very hard to obscure these kind of things. And I think if Americans really knew the details of how, China at one point, was setting up a computer chip factory in China that would sell and make products for China with Chinese materials. And the U.S. government was still trying to say it was illegal. That's absolutely ridiculous. It has, the USA has no business trying to suppress a computer chip in China to make Chinese products with Chinese materials. But yet the U.S. government did that. And if that was explained to the American people, I'm pretty sure they would find that to be ridiculous as well. We wouldn't tolerate some other country trying to tell us, oh, we can't have a factory using American materials to make American products to sell in America. So, there's a reason that there's not discussion of these these issues in American media because it's just blatantly imperialistic and completely in violation of other countries' sovereignty. And the way the USA conducts itself with control of rare earth elements, with control over the chip markets, it's really indefensible when you look at the facts.
And I think it's hurting the US chip industry itself as well, seems to me, because there are 3 chip manufacturers they were at least in Washington to lobby against this ban. They want to loosen up the ban because they lost market. You know, they lost their own business. And I think AMD, NVIDIA, and there's a third Intel. I think all 3 of them, the big ones, big chip companies, they were in DC to lobby against all this. Because they themselves are getting hurt. So I don't see what is the Biden's administration thinking behind it. You know, one thing they keep on forgetting, China is different from any other countries. It's huge market.
Yeah.
If you want to have a viable business in any area, you need market, right? And China is irreplaceable in just about any market, any products, including chips. And so the fact that they do not allow American companies to sell chips to China, it slows down China. For example, you know, Huawei was hurt for a while, but now Huawei seems like its phone is coming back. So it does find some way to get chips that they need. So that's already being proven. And that probably explains the 28 nanometers. I think the ban is already canceled. So you actually can now sell the 28. But maybe it's too late because China already has its own manufacturer capacity for that area. So it's taken, okay. And then for the higher end of chips, it's just a matter of time. So it's really hurting the US, in my view. So I don't know what the Biden administration is thinking, that they can just keep on doing it without hurting itself. So
there you go.
So